So I'm here today with Kieran Bywater of Bywater Wealth Management, one of Manchester's leading wealth management experts, also a lifelong United fan.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Long story short, I always get the typical United fan with my southern accent all the time when I bring it up. And now I was born in Trafford. My mum's side are all from Salford. So my sort of formative years were all in Manchester. And then I grew up down south. So my childhood was, I loved it really. I had all the heroes, at Old Trafford come at the Stretford end. And then my adult life has not been as enjoyable as a United fan as most of us are the same, really.
Obviously, you've got a slightly different angle on most United fans in the sense that you have had a trial at the club. Now, that's midway through your football story.
Yeah.
You began at West Ham.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
How was that for you?
Yeah, it was, well, when I look back, I had a great time there at the club. My 11 years, when you look back, a bit more senior, and you can look at your teenage years and young adult life, and I loved it. I had a great time at the club. Growing up there, being there just over 10 years was like, went exactly how I wanted to until sort of the end point, really. Had a bit of a sticky exit, should we call it, one of those. But I've sort of got obviously all past that now, and I love my time at the club, and love playing for them as well.
So, of course, you would have crossed paths with United during that time. I think I'm right in saying that you played at Old Trafford in the reserves?
Yeah, that was right, yeah. So played at Old Trafford for under-21s or whatever you want to call it at the time. Dream come true. Being a United fan my whole life, and obviously I was inundated with tickets. I was asking all the lads for spare tickets on theirs because obviously all my family wanted to go, family and friends at the time, which was great for me. We lost 2-1 actually, and so it wasn't ideal on the night. And when you're playing football, you just bypass it so quick and you're on to the next game. But when I look back now, it's probably something, I was glad I got to play there, to be honest.
Do you remember who you were up against?
Yeah, well, I remember who scored. I can't remember who sort of the whole team was. I remember Andreas Pereira scored and Michael Keane scored a header. You can probably look me up if there's any United fans out there, obviously all the stats and stuff. But pretty sure. Couldn't tell you who scored for us. Maybe Elliot Lee? I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay. But I mean, there were those two United scorers, obviously established Premier League footballers now.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously United, those age groups are always pretty strong. And like I said, they've had top Premier League careers really. So compared to a lot of our squad, which was financial advisors and other careers now, to be fair. But yeah, it was a great time, to be fair. And playing at Old Trafford was just the best thing. I always, when I sit in the stand now, and I've been lucky enough to watch clients' games there and things now, it's just still like, the fact I've got to play there is like, massive for me.
At the time, is it one of those where you make a point in your own mind beforehand, just drink this in, just savor it a bit more?
Yeah, I think so. I remember I was very intense. I was quite all or nothing. I think I've said to you when we spoke previously. It was just, I was very focused at the time of, making a career for myself, long-lasting career. So I was sort of focused on playing for West Ham, obviously, at the time. And I just remember going out in the tunnel and the whole of it, running onto the pitch for the first time, and it being an actual, not like a charity game where we can all go and play there, but no disrespect for that. It's, you're playing a competitive
no shame in it.
game.
I've done it.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. You still played there, but it was just like going out there, for the club you've grown up playing at against a team that you still supported, and I still go to the games now all the time. So it's at the time it was a huge sort of thing where you're like, this is one of those things you've looked at as from a kid, really,
So looking back at the time that you were at West Ham, you would have crossed paths with Ravel Morrison.
Yeah, I played with Rav. Yeah, when he came down from United, so he was.
How would you sum that up? Because in terms of talent.
With talent, it was just ridiculous. And even now, I always said that in my time with Rav, and I've bumped into him since I've been back here in Manchester, and we've had a chat coming out the Ivy just across the road here. So he's always been sound, and no majority of people that played with him couldn't say a bad thing about him either. And going back to the footballing side, the talent was just ridiculous. He came down, obviously was with our first team, a few things went on, and he was with us in the under-21s for however long. He's a few years older than me, but he was just unbelievable, raw talent, best player. Anyone would say that's been in a session with him will say the same thing. You see it all the time with top players that players when I can say the same in training. I remember once he just jogged out and was just saying how many people I'm going to make today. Just played like that, and you're just thinking, he's not joking either,
Yeah.
and he's just like strolling out. And I always remember there was a game at Fulham. I think it was Fulham, maybe a game in London anyway, under 21s. And I don't know if he turned up late or something had happened. They were going to change the team, and he ended up playing without like a warm up, and he was the best player on the pitch. And I remember my dad ringing me after the game, and he goes, "Oh my word, that Ravel was unbelievable today in the midfield with me and a few of the other lads at the time." And he was just different level at that point.
When you're playing in midfield with him, is it just a case of just give Rav the ball?
Yeah, I remember there was a couple of like behind closed doors games that they do, like sort of first team reserves mixed in as well, like to get some minutes at a time. And I played with him in midfield, and he just glide with the ball. I was very much a sort of combative midfielder, could play a little bit, could score a goal, and he just had that balance and that skill where he just beat a man as well, which is rare for most midfielders because not many had that. I know the game's changed slightly now, but those like 10 positions, he was just talent wise. I mean, most of the people at United will say that as well. He's the most talented kid that they've seen, which is frustrating, I would say.
He's been around, hasn't he?
Yeah,
he's got some experiences,
of course, and that's what I mean. He's had a career, and I always flip it, even when I talk from the financial planning side of it, from where people come from sometimes in football is dismissed, and where they end up going, their journey isn't what people expect, but they've still had an amazing journey and career if you're going to look at it from everybody else that's not played a minute of football.
So you look back on your life at the end, and then the journey is ridiculous, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. So I think we've all got our own sort of journeys, but someone like that in football, they can look back at it and you will eventually go, oh God, shouldn't look back with a regret. Things happened and you got to have all these experiences, and that's probably what I'd say if he's ever listening to this. But yeah, he's great achievements, I guess.
On the subject of journeys, obviously.
Yeah.
Perfect segue. You ended up leaving West Ham, as you mentioned, and then how did you come to have a trial with United?
Yeah, it was a strange one, to be honest. As I recall it, it was a phone call when I was away on holiday. It was either Joycey or Derek Langley, who was obviously the recruitment at the time, and they just mentioned coming in for pre-season, what had gone on. I'd had a couple of trials at the back end of the season when I told I wasn't getting a new contract at West Ham after originally having a contract offer in place. So it was all a bit of a strange time for me. And then when I get that phone call and they're like, no, serious, you get up for Carrington for the start of pre-season. I was just like, I wasn't at the time, because I played at reserve level and I was established at that age. People who knew played with, I could play at that level. It wasn't a thing like that. I never was a sort of weaker side player. I was always sort of around the team, captain of West Ham, etc. So it wasn't like a shock, but it was like, oh, actually, this is an opportunity now that, I'm there, straight away. I was up the road ringing my uncle. Stayed with family friends in Flixton, just down the road from Carrington at the time, because they were like, oh, do you need to put us up? And I said, no, I've got all my family live nearby, family friends. So I said, I'll stay with one of them and just drive in. But yeah, it was amazing to sort of walk in at Carrington. I knew some of the guys from playing against them, stuff like that at the time, who have gone on to have careers, obviously at United and at other clubs as well. So yeah, it was a huge thing for me at the time.
Was that anyone that you crossed swords with in midfield?
Not really, no. There was no one, because obviously at the areas at the time, there was no one I had sort of a previous encounter with, which of it wasn't one of the other London clubs. But it was some of the United lads I played against, and when you're at that age, everyone's trying to make it, aren't they, and have a career, so you know each other. Everyone's just sort of going after it, really. So no, it was good. So
how long did the trial last, and what main memories did you take from it?
Yeah,
so still haunts you?
Yeah, I was probably there. Yeah, no, I was probably there like a month or so, maybe at the start of pre-season. So like they were paying me at the time just for the period I was there, on what I was previously on at West Ham. So the club were brilliant. So Warren Joyce was there at the time, Derek Langley. So they were great, and they were just honest with me from the get-go. They're like, probably you're not going to play for United's first team with the plans. Even majority of our lads in this reserve team aren't going to. What we want to look at, getting you out on loan. You're going to add strength to our under-21s when you're playing here, and then you come and go, we'll sell you on loan for the academy, which is probably a bit ahead of its time, because there's a lot of clubs are doing that now, whereas where we were, it was either, you're 19, 20, you're good enough for the first team or not.
Yeah.
and that was it, whereas they were thinking a little bit about that. So I was like, fine. He was like, get fit, and then we'll play a few games in the pre-season and stuff. So I got fit, and anyone will say Warren Joyce. I couldn't believe it coming from West Ham. I was obviously the fittest I had ever been, and I was not fit.
You've got a military background with your dad as well.
Yeah, so fitness. I was always at the time. I was like, I was always looking after myself. Not as fit anymore, sat in this office, but I was always fit. And my dad used to push it at the time as well. And I was always, box type midfielder. And I remember going into pre-season at United with Warren Joyce, and it was brutal. The line runs at the time were just after training to get me fit. I was not a fan of them.
And in terms of sort of practice games, did you get many outings?
Yeah, so there was a couple of games, one at Oldham's ground for pre-season, and I can't remember who the other game was against. And I went and played for Barnsley in a game when Paul Heckingbottom was a manager there, right. And Butty came and watched me at that. So obviously think of going on loan there. I think they were League One at the time,
right.
With a view to that. But obviously jumping ahead of it, I didn't get offered a contract due to higher ups, shall we say, in the first team that didn't said to Joycey essentially, if he's not going to play in the first team, we're not interested in signing him on from that side of it. So take it as what you want. But they were great. They spoke to me even after I'd left when I went to America. A few months later, Warren Joyce messaged me, Derek Langley messaged me, which was more than I got from West Ham at the time, and right. I've been there for 11 years. So I'm still in touch with Derek today. So, right. I mean, he's a client of mine, so I've helped him with his retirement planning. From that side, small world. I think I love that short period of time that I had there, experience, I guess.
Again, in terms of experiences, you mentioned America there.
Yeah.
Walk us through that.
That was just almost, bottom of the pit really for me. So emotionally and everything else, and it was a total reset. So I went, and when I left after United, I went and played non-league from one of my previous managers at West Ham. I must have played a few games, and I wasn't coping mentally with it all. Like where I'd gone from, captain West Ham's under-21s to then playing in this non-league game, lashing down. And I remember stood in one of the games. I don't know if it was a trial game or like conference game or whatever, and I just stood in the middle of the pitch and I just sort of wrote down at that point. I ended up walking off, just getting in the car and just saying, I'm done. I'm just completely done. So that's when I spoke to my friend who was playing in America at the time. And he was just like, let me speak to the manager and we'll get you out. Like he'll want you to come out straight away. Saw the plan, and I didn't even go and visit. I just got on a plane and went. Maybe a month or two later. Wow. That's how I came to America. And I remember sitting on the plane thinking, what am I doing? And how this sort of happened sort of moment. Like it was a bizarre feeling. It was like, I want to do this, but I needed to change something, and think when something's sort of bad and you're going on in your life and in your head, sometimes you've got to just take that step and jump at something different,
So in terms of timescale, how long was it between getting the contract offer from West Ham taken away to then being on a plane to America?
So I flew to America in the January, and that sort of retracted contract was probably the March time. Yeah, so 9 months. Okay. And all the United stuff and Aston Villa and a couple of other clubs in between.
Right.
And then was sat on a plane on the way to America in 9 months. And a lot of people think I was like, at the time, like, what are you doing? Like, you could get his contract here. And I was just thinking, I'm not playing the way I used to play. I'm just an emotional sort of struggling with it all, really. Right. At the time, as a young person. And looking back now in my late 20s, it's like, God, you were so young as well to make those decisions. And then I went over to America, and I had the best 2.5 years ever.
Which part of America?
Charleston, and then Chattanooga in Tennessee as well. So I don't know if you've been to Tennessee or anything.
I have not.
Yeah,
it's on the list.
It was a great place. It was a brilliant place to live. The club was brilliant as well. Had a great time there. And then when I was moving, there was a few visa issues and a few stuff with me playing pro here and things like that. So I had to come back. And then that's when I just went, right, I'm done. Sort of, that was the final straw for me in football.
Am I right in thinking that you were quite successful out there.
Yeah.
But then the visa issues proved.
Yeah, so basically
costly.
it was like it was me. We had like a sports lawyer involved and everything. I got voted against for like this sort of playing pro over here because I was going to go and study at another place over there, a place called Clemson in South Carolina, and it all sort of fell through, sort of on its arse, really, essentially. And I was just over there in America with all this going on, sports lawyers, etc., involved, and got voted against on the final sort of decision, which seems mental, really, when I look back at it. Why would you do that? Someone that's just playing football and trying to get a better education for themselves. So anyway, I came back. I was 23, 24 maybe, 23, yeah, 24, and I was obviously no education, football career sort of done in my mind of where I was sort of wanting to do, and I didn't fancy lower leagues here. I just remember being sat with my parents in their house, and my now brother-in-law and my sister, they were saving for a house at the time, so they were there, and I was just remember sitting like, just what am I doing now? Like done, like got friends, ex-teammates still playing careers, like got no relationship with, and you're sort of starting from nothing really, I guess. So that was probably the low point at that point.
I'm trying to think of a way to ask a horrible question without being horrible.
Go on.
So, I mean, how low did it get? Because the thing that always strikes me about footballers is that you crystallised in your identity as a footballer really early on.
Massively.
And when that gets taken away early 20s, when you still don't know that much about the world, it must put you in a really strange place.
Yeah, it was a massive identity issue. It was even like, family and friends who be messaging you all the time, asking how games were going, how you were doing. That all stops. You've had to move from different places. So I didn't have like stable relationships at the time. So, you've got none of that going on in your life as well. And like you said, the identity thing, you've played football your whole life. It's all I dedicated my whole life to it as you do. It wasn't never pushed, and you're wrapped around that. And then all of a sudden it's done. And it's like, well, who am I? What do I want to do? Where do I go? Like all of those questions that were really difficult. And this is why I preach to all my clients that are players now. You need to not get associated with that, because you're going to hit that in your 30s, mid 30s.
Yeah.
And it won't be, if you're doing the right things financially, like what I do with players, they won't have all those issues. It'll be the identity thing. And that's the hardest thing to deal with for any of them. And people don't realise that. It's such a struggle, because those people that are messaging you now or commenting on your Instagram posts, oh, well done, congrats on the new contract, or whatever it might be, that will stop. Launch a business and see who comments on your post then, or rings you up 2 months in, how's it going? It won't happen. So I think that going on in my early 20s was the darkest point. And I had sort of a couple of bit of a breakdowns, really, sort of going back to it, which was, if I didn't have my strong family and friends around me, I wouldn't have got through it. And you see sort of the worst cases in young men anyway. I'm pretty sure would have been that tough for me if I didn't have those strong people around me in my family, really.
So you say there the darkness. How do you find your way into the light? Because obviously things are going very well now.
Yeah, time, a lot of effort, a lot of sleepless nights and things like that. But it's about finding that purpose again. And I remember having some massive conversations with family, and I come from a family where my mum was a nurse, sort of caring, selfless individuals, not someone that you associate with, banking or finance or generally what people say. But it was about, right, maybe use your skills you've got, find a new career rather than just a job. Like get skill up, get an education, go from it that side, and then go at something where you can be successful in your drive in yourself, like you did in sport. And that was the best thing for me that I did. I did get lucky. Obviously, it was the first thing I went into, and I loved it, and I've been able to build a business from it over a long period of time. Someone in my 20s, it's I'm really young in the industry. To be a partner here is just it's 20 years younger than the average one. So it's
disgusting.
Yeah, it's one of those, and obviously Si, I know, and he always used to tell me that when I started out. He goes, you just don't realise in 10 years' time you're still going to be pretty young in this industry. So I think that's what it was. And like, let's go back to the main point, is it was the purpose. It was finding that thing that gets you out of bed every day, and helping people, and not just thinking about self, helping other people, and makes you feel good. So that's helped me feel good, and then you can do good.
And you're still obviously in and around football with clients,
Yeah.
etc., without betraying any sort of client confidentiality.
Yeah,
you
of course.
are active within the game.
Yeah, so I've got to look after a lot of players now, so from Premier League down to League One, but mainly sort of Championship and above level, really. So it's great. I love it. I work with some younger players that are going into it now that are Premier League clubs, and you're building financial plans for them, and they're buying into it straight away, building consistency. So they'll be, whatever happens in their career, they'll be in a good position.
Yeah.
And that means a lot to me, because I know it will come to an end at some point. And if I can help them reduce that stress for when the identity things come by putting them in good financial positions rather than the horror stories you read all the time, then that's great. And obviously I work with a number of other people as well, but I get a real passion out of working with the players, and it's great because I love football and I get to go to games and watch clients do their job, and it's like, it's great really to see them having the careers that I wish I had at the time. But it's just good to see them work with those types of people that are going after it as well, which is good.
And you're a regular at Old Trafford.
Yeah, regular Old Trafford. Whether that's been a good thing or not.
Last season
spent a
not
lot
so
of money.
great.
Yeah, not so great last season. And obviously I was living in the city centre the last few years in Manchester, so I used to walk down with a couple of down the canal route, as a lot of the United fans do. And I just remember it was quite painful at times last year, but I still love going. You still have that feeling going to, you'll be the same, but it's just, you still have that feeling going to Old Trafford that, for me, no other stadium has that. Obviously, I feel like it's been a journey going to the first game with my granddad when I was a kid in the Stretford end, to then playing there, to then being a fan now, which is just what I am. And then even I've been to a few clients that have been playing there against United as well in Europa League and things like that, and it just feels a part of it. So the only thing with me moving out of Manchester at the minute is I won't be going to every week, but I'll still be going to plenty of games this coming season. The optimism's back, so
that's it. The optimism is back, isn't
it?
And it feels. I think look at the fan base, particularly since the last couple of signings. There's a huge amount of optimism, isn't there?
Massively, yeah. You can feel it as well, even just from conversation, group chats that you're in with United fans, and looking at it, everyone's scrambling around to get tickets for the first game of the season again, where it's not been like that before. It's people flogging them, so they can't really get away with that anymore. But I think it was just, they needed that reset, that sort of ambition again, to see try and get to the club sort of back into the glory days. I know everyone always thinks back, but we are where we are because of everything that's gone on the last few years with the club on the pitch, and hopefully can bring back some, even just that competitiveness at the top end of the table again, would just be what most United fans want at the minute, I think.
Brilliant. And finally, Kieran, I should have asked earlier.
That's all right.
As a United fan,
yeah,
even if it's just a practice game at Oldham, what does it mean? What's it feel like when you get that shirt on, you get that badge on, and you're actually representing?
Yeah, it was a massive thing for me, and a lot of people, small thing at the time, just playing for United at under 21 in a pre-season game, but for me that was like huge. As any United fan would have loved that opportunity. It was a weird feeling because I was gutted that I didn't get a contract there, but at the same time I was like, this was just an amazing experience at the time, even though I played at another Premier League club. That feeling. Exactly. Same thing with the Old Trafford one. I always look back. They're the two things that are there's a few things I look back at my short career that I think, that was great, but they're probably the two things that are up there as a United fan.
Amazing. Thanks so much for your time.
That's all right. No worries.